Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Schmozone podcast. This is episode number 74. I'm Dave Schmulenson, a.k.a. The Schmo. My co-host is...
Helen Yee with Helen Yee Sports.
And today's guest, it wasn't planned this way. It's all random. It's the trifecta. We have 3 straight weeks of couples. So back to back to back. Today's guest... He is the man with the fastest knockout in combat sports history, the Uly monster, Uly Diaz in the flesh, and his lovely fiancé, Ashley, also known as WWE star Dana Brooke, here in the flesh, both the couples, the power couples. How you guys doing?
Great. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, man. Amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
And you guys are a beautiful couple as well.
Absolutely. And, hey, happy birthday, Helen Yee.
Yeah. Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we really appreciate you guys coming into the Schmozone studios. It's a big weekend here in Vegas for sports in general. There's a lot of things going on. One thing in particular, it's WWE SummerSlam, which I know brings you guys into town. Right. But we also have Pacquiao, Ugas. It could be his Manny Pacquiao's the Legends last fight. And there's a UFC fight night, Kelvin Gastelum, Jared Cannonier. Yeah. 3 things going on. Amazing weekend of fights. It's great.
All in Vegas too, right?
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. It's hard to keep up this weekend with everything going on.
I know. I think for us, we had to make a official decision to choose the WWE and boxing because we could do both of those, whereas if we just did the UFC, I felt like we couldn't leave the UFC and do these 2 events. So we're getting the schmore the merrier, the most out of the bang for the buck here.
Congratulations to you guys. I've seen you guys been working a lot and getting, getting a lot of things done, which is amazing to you guys, man. So props for that.
I appreciate that. We got to hustle. We got to make things happen. We are our own bosses.
So last week, it was a bit different being in Hawaii and kind of not doing anything. Well, we did go tubing.
Yeah, water tubing. We went surfing for the first time.
Well, not doing anything work-wise, though, right?
Yeah. So this is
different.
Yeah. So this is like our first actual official interview since the vacation, and I'm not the schmo for this podcast myself.
Welcome back, guys.
I don't know what a vacation is either. We come here and we have okay, tonight let's go to dinner. Tomorrow we have a free day, and then it's work. Right. Me and him haven't. We went to the DR in November, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a great vacation. But he had to work. So it's every trip we go on, it's work-related. Yeah. So we definitely want to take a trip as well sometime if we can find time off. But I understand the feeling. You're like, what do? I have to be doing something. Right. So finding the balance, how to, relax, that's a test.
And with your work in particular, because when I was growing up, I was a huge WWE fan, so I would read the books and everything. And I read quite a few of the athletes or the wrestlers say it's 300 days of traveling.
Absolutely.
Yes. That's pre-pandemic.
Right.
I've been blessed to be with the company now going on 9 years. I've been on the road from the very beginning. And it's been nonstop. And when the pandemic had hit, it was a huge transition in my life. One, I had just met Uly 3 months prior. So when I had met him, he was used to me being on the road and me being home maybe 1 or 2 days a week. And then COVID had hit, and it was oh my God, what do I do? Not only with us, but with my life. I'm I know what a house is. I haven't lived in a house for years. I have a kitchen. I can cook. There's a closet full of clothes. I have not only a suitcase, but I have a whole closet to choose from. It was a huge transition because usually we're in a rental car. We land from the airport. We grab our rental car. Then we drive and find on Yelp a random gym. We go get our workout in. We find the healthy food options on the road. And then we drive into the show. We wrestle. We work. We shower up. We pack our car, we drive to the next town, find our hotel, and do it all over again for 4 days straight.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I love that you guys have that same vision and are able to, in a way, do things together. Like you said, like find the healthy food, find a gym, which David got me more into since the
You look
pandemic.
great.
Yeah, you
Like, great.
You definitely look like, since I saw you from my podcast, you've been working out. You look fit, you know?
Try.
And honestly, if you saw her every day, you would never know because she's always saying, I need to do this, I need to do better.
Well,
but
she's the same way.
particular for greatness, but it's like, look, hey, take a step back. Do you know where you were 2 months ago, 3 months ago? And Grant, yeah,
Yeah, I'm like,
we see her every day. But
I think it's
my
a woman
shoulders
thing.
bigger?
It's a woman thing because I tell her the same thing. Like, you look great. Like, babe, you're like, you know, not too slim, but you're slim. You could eat a little bit. Like, no, I got TV on Monday.
Yeah, TV puts on 10 pounds. I'm like, my shoulders look great in pictures. I have nice, like, defined, not like huge six pack, but I have the nice lines. And then I get on TV and I'm like, wait a second here. I did not look like this. Yeah, for sure. First thing I get off the out of the ring and I text him, I'm like, did I look fat on TV? He's like, no. I go, I felt like a water buffalo on TV. But it is. Females, I think, are very hard on themselves just because they have a certain goal and a certain image that they want to portray. And coming from the health and fitness background too, it's hard. Like, it's body dysmorphia is huge in that industry as well too. And I had to really overcome that too because it was weight fluctuations all the time. It was like the yo-yo effect. It was only a 24-hour look that was on stage when I was competing in fitness. And then a week after went by and I was still trying to maintain it, but I was on an off-season diet. I was like, what is this 5 pounds? I was like, this can't be done. And my coach was like, Ash, follow the plan. You know, this is what you need to do. But I always wanted to look like I did on stage. And that's not healthy. So you have to find a great balance. And I think for us, we have, you know. I mean, look at you now. You look
at you. I love your outfit. And let me tell the viewers, your abs, everything looks amazing because it's like a two-piece outfit.
Yes, thank you so much. But yeah, our training schedule, we train all the time together. I've kind of got myself into boxing a little bit, just watching him during COVID too. I was out there doing like my circuit workouts and he was out there training with his coach, Commander Zero. And I was like, babe, do you think I can try this? I've never done it before. And he's like, yeah, go ask coach. So I did. And I fell in love with it because it's so mentally challenging. It's so different than wrestling or fitness or anything that I've ever done, gymnastics, that you have to really put your mind to it. Right. You have to think offense, but at the same time, you have to think defense, right? It is so crazy. So mad props to him and all the fighters out there, UFC, boxing, bare knuckle, everything. It's truly a work of art.
It truly is, and we're going to get all into that. But let's stick to WWE for a couple more seconds here, because this is a huge weekend.
Yes.
Absolutely.
At Allegiant Stadium, this is the first combat sports event, first sporting event outside of the NFL that's going down here at Allegiant Stadium. It wasn't UFC first. It wasn't boxing first. It's pro wrestling that's going to bring Allegiant Stadium, to an uproar Saturday evening. Kind of what does it mean for this brand? And would you say, because I know that you said, I think maybe it was off air before the podcast, that you guys are going from here to San Diego for WWE Monday Night Raw. Is traveling back?
Traveling is back. This happened a month ago. We were in the Thunderdome era, which was strictly virtual fans. And we did WrestleMania in Tampa, Florida with fans, but then we went straight back to no fans. So being back on the road truly is electrifying because you feel the fans, you feel their energy. And coming to Vegas too, where this is a brand new arena, like where the NFL plays, and this is their first season here, right? Second season here. It's amazing to be here. We did WrestleMania in Dallas a couple years back, but being here in Vegas with the energy is amazing. It's a whole nother level of excitement, and WWE brings people all around the world. Like, it's not just from the United States, it's from Japan, Europe, everywhere. Wrestling is known all around the world. With the travel restrictions, I don't know how the countries are coming in and out, but it is broadcasted all around the world, and Vegas will be spotlighted. And the arena holds so many people. Usually Monday Night Raw usually has anywhere from 15 to 20,000. Now this is like 80 to 100,000 people. And I believe it is a sold out event, which I'm super excited for. And it's outside. I love having WrestleMania. Is it a closed arena?
They can open it too.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
That's the best feeling too.
It's convertible.
Yeah.
Hard top.
Yeah, the Marlins Stadium in Miami is like that also.
Do you have a particular like match you're looking forward to the most? Because I saw like Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg.
Oh,
Yes.
And then the John Cena Roman Reigns.
Yes, they both came back, and it's really exciting to see that they come full circle. You know, they take a little bit of time off. What I really admire is Goldberg. He's doing this for his son, and it's, you know, well known that he came out of retirement for his son. Years ago, I was, you know, fortunate enough to be with the company and see him come back out of retirement, and his son was like 8 or 9 years old, and he was little. I showed you that picture. And recently they came back and did like a little on camera action with his son, and his son is grown. He's a grown boy. It's crazy. And they posted pictures from like then till now, and it's truly a transition to see how grown he is, but see the excitement in the kid's face from then till now. He's still super excited to see his dad up there. Last Monday we were in San Antonio, Texas, and he brought his whole football crew with him, front row, cheering his dad on. And his dad brought him over the barricade, and they walked back, and it was like, take your son to work day, you know, when you have take your kid to work day. And he was like, this is a highlight of his life to have his son next to him. So I'm really excited for that match. But I love Bobby Lashley too. He's a great friend of ours too. He's known in the fight game as well too. We actually saw him on our way over here too. Yeah. And John Cena, it's just amazing that he can do it all. And his passion is WWE. It's not that they wanted him to come back. He wanted to come back. And I admire that so much too.
Yeah, and to your point, what I admire, I love Goldberg. He was like my favorite growing up. He had the record 173, you know, and part of the shtick of the Schmo emulates kind of the Mean Gene Okerlunds and the backstage WWE reporters, and I bring that to the real life combat sports thing because it kind of ruined it for me when I found out it was fake, and that's why I love the real stuff. But I do admire so much about WWE athletes is just the versatility, your background in fitness. Bill Goldberg, he was a college football star, and a lot of these guys come from different accolades and backgrounds, and then while they're in as wrestlers like The Rock and John Cena and whatnot, you become a movie star and you pick up acting. So you have so much good versatility, which you need, by the way, to be a professional wrestler too. You need to have good mic skills. So I've always appreciated the theatrics because they weren't one-trick ponies. They were Swiss Army knives, and I think that's a huge tribute to the sport itself.
Yeah, you have to be very diverse in every aspect. Coming into wrestling, I'll tell a quick funny story. So one of my first matches on TV, I was a heel. I was the bad girl. And I've never like had a bad bone in my body where I always wanted to inspire people and have people admire me and look up to me. And I went out there and everybody was like booing me like crazy. And that's all I heard was like the boos. And I came back from being out in the ring, and it's called Gorilla, where everybody's back there and they're like giving me the high fives and telling me, congratulations, you did an awesome job. I go back, I pick up the phone, I call my mom, and I start crying. I was like, Mom, they hate me. She goes, you're doing your job. That's awesome. I go, I don't know if I like this. And then from that point forward, I embraced it because that is a feeling that you want, you strive for, you want to play that part. And I always try and inspire children too. And when I do anti-bullying rallies or I speak to kids, I'm like, it's okay. It's like playing in a school play and you're casted to be a bad person. You're telling a story. So that's how I kind of try to inspire kids about how I am, because they'll see me backstage and be like, I don't like her, she's mean. But now I'm a good girl on TV and I absolutely love it, and I love to see the smiles on people's faces. So you have to be very diverse in everything that you play, because one time they might want you to be this, then the other time I was a statistician for Titus Worldwide where I was like doing numbers. So I've played many different roles on TV and I embrace them all.
I've always said, like, when you watch a movie and you hate a character in a movie, and you're like, man, that guy's a good actor because I hate him right now. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that.
Playing into the role really, really
well. Yeah. Yes, for sure. But it's been an awesome journey, and having the fans back is something that I truly miss. I always say you never want to take things for granted, right? But before COVID, when we went to show to show to show, it was like, oh, all right, 2 more days, 1 more day. Now I'm like super excited for it, like, because the fans are back, and that's all I want to do is go out there and perform and see these crowds go nuts. We went back first live in Dallas, and the first entrance was John Cena, and I went out there. Like, I wanted to go out there and feel the emotion, and I sent you a clip of it too. It was crazy, like, to see the fans coming back and just living in the moment. And
yeah, the energy is electric.
Yes.
WWE things for sure.
The policymakers, people didn't realize how much sports mean to people, to give them the escape from their everyday bullshit, their 9-to-5s and realities.
Absolutely.
And when you take that away from them, it takes away a part of somebody.
Absolutely.
And then the energy when they come back for the first time to see the people that they love in person, because that's where they take their hard-earned money. They'll buy it on booze, they'll buy it on other stuff, but they'll buy it to watch their favorite performers.
Absolutely.
Right.
Priceless.
Absolutely.
And during that time too, with the Thunderdome where there were virtual fans, I had to find something that motivated me when I was out there. Like, deep down inside, it was like crickets, because nobody was in the arena, and literally you can't hear anything because there's no cheers, there's no, like, I could hear the commentators, which I've never before in my 9 years have heard. I'm like, what are you saying about me? You know, but I had to but throughout the time I found that the people on the other side of the TV, just like you said, that's their escape, right? So these kids that were sitting in virtual school all day could watch Monday Night Raw from 8 to 11, and that was their escape. That's what I was playing to, was the people on the other side of the TVs that you don't know what they're going through. That's where I found my energy to go out there and just know that I'm making someone smile on that other side.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
And that was definitely my escape. It was Monday Night Raw. Tuesday was ECW. Thursday, the TNA Impact. Friday Night SmackDown.
Exactly.
And then it was like Saturday night or Sunday
we had
night,
like
the
main event
hour replay.
Yeah, we had main event and Superstars. Superstars doesn't exist anymore, but main event does now on Hulu, which I love doing main event too, because it's one of the first 2 matches of the entire night, and the crowd is crazy. So it's one of the best times.
And there's another huge event going on Saturday night. It's going to be over at the T-Mobile Arena. It's Manny Pacquiao, Yordenis Ugas. Is this Manny Pacquiao's last fight? I know, Uly, we were talking about this before we watched the podcast. I mean, he's such a legend, and Pacquiao. Ugas, what do you think? How do you think this plays out?
Man, I love Manny Pacquiao. I've been a fan of his forever. I love Yordenis Ugas too, man. You know, he's not a huge name, but he's a hell of a fighter. He's fought some top name people. I think, you know, I think he's lost a couple fights that at least in my opinion, look like he won to me. So I think Manny Pacquiao is going to be a huge test for him, but it's going to be like we said earlier, it's going to be a hell of a weekend for fights, man. It's going to be amazing.
And it's super interesting too, because Errol Spence Jr., in the welterweight division, you think of him and Bud Crawford.
Right.
Those are the 2 guys.
Absolutely.
And now you have a 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao who's not, ducking anybody, who's fighting the best of the best, to get the belts that he's looking to get. I mean, he's the IBF champion, the WBC champion. That's Errol Spence. And then Ugas stepping in 11 days' notice with the eye injury to Errol Spence. I mean, it's right place and right time. It's just you think Manny would be too much for him, and it's his last. It's a good farewell tour, right? I mean,
yeah, you know, Manny wants to go out on top. Obviously, everybody wants to go out on top. But Ugas is going to be a challenge for him. You know, Ugas has put in the work. Like I said, he's fought some big names. He comes from a pedigree. You know, he's a Cuban boxer, has a big Cuban background, an amateur. So I'm Cuban also. There's a lot of political stuff going on in Cuba. I know he's wearing that. He comes from the island, so he's probably wearing that. He wants to show off for his people. So it's a hard one to call, man. It's a hard one to call.
It is. He's had a lot of success though since moving to Vegas.
Absolutely.
New coaching team and everything like that. Like a chip on his shoulder ever since Top Rank.
For sure.
Left him out to dry, and he signed with PBC. He's been on a good streak.
That's right.
But speaking of boxing news, also today it was reported that Caleb Plant and Canelo.
Oh, I saw that.
That one's about to be finalized for November. What do you think of that matchup?
I saw that. That's going to be a great matchup too. But I'm a Canelo fan, man. Canelo is just like something else when it comes to boxing. You know, yeah. Everybody that's like a Caleb Plant, what was the Billy Joe Saunders that he just fought? He fights. He doesn't back down from anybody. Fights great competition, and he makes these guys look like amateurs, man. You know, and not to take nothing from them because they're great fighters, but Canelo's just on another level, man.
I love this situation where you can unify belts because there's so many different belts in boxing.
Right,
it's
right.
different for BKFC, which I want to get to next, by the way. It's different for the UFC. Like, it's mandated the best fighters fight the best fighters, but
Right.
politics with different organizations, so many different mouths to feed in boxing, so you miss the best fighters fighting the best fights. But anytime you get a situation now where Canelo or Caleb has the opportunity to unify in that super middleweight division, that's what gets my interest. That's what has to get the interest of all combat sports fans.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. You want to see the best go against the best, you know, and that's what this situation is. So, but again, Canelo's gonna be hard to deal with, man. He's on a roll.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get to BKFC because there's another big signing. It seems like there's a huge signing all the time. You know, we just saw a great performance a little bit ago now. It's been weeks ago. Rachael Ostovich when she beat Paige VanZant.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we were there.
You were there. You
Yeah.
were right there. I know your last fight didn't go your way, but your sportsmanship and everything you do, always class act.
Thank you.
Chad Mendes, you know,
I saw
huge
that signing.
UFC veteran,
Yeah.
and it's going to be in Chandler, Arizona. I think it's the first time that BKFC is now coming to the state of Arizona.
Yes.
Big event. I think it's in October.
Yeah.
That's big news.
Huge news. Chad Mendes is elite athlete, and I've been watching his videos that he's been putting on Instagram. He looks great boxing. Looks amazing. I heard him the other day on Joe Rogan. It's a huge move for BKFC. You know, BKFC is the fastest growing sport, business-wise and sport-wise. People are really catching on to it. The fights are getting better every UFC they throw. They're only on number 20 tomorrow. It's BKFC number 20 in Biloxi, Mississippi. And
They're tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a Friday night fight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
tomorrow's in Biloxi.
Another one.
Yeah, and the company's amazing. They're doing real well for their fighters, you know. And like I said, every event they throw, the fights are just getting better and better.
It's so fascinating to me too because like in the early stages of the UFC and MMA, you know, the athletic commissions, they were so hard to sanction it, you know,
Right.
barbaric and everything like that.
Right.
But it seems like the point of entry, it's been in a way easier for BKFC to grow and expand. And to your point, I know how fast they're growing. They're able to get such star quality coming over and transitioning to this sport. And it's pretty amazing to me how quickly things have taken off. I remember when they were advertising their first event, I think it was during maybe the Manny Pacquiao Adrian Broner fight. It was a few years ago. Maybe it was around that time, 2018, 2019. And to see where they were then, just to where they are now, and imagine the same 2-3 year time span where they will be from now, it's pretty immaculate, that growth.
Absolutely. You know, shout out to David Feldman. He's really, you know, he's really putting his money where his mouth is when it comes to BKFC. He's doing big signings, you know, from Paige VanZant to Chad Mendes to, you know, Thiago that I just fought. He has big UFC guys, vets coming in, and so he's drawing. And the last where Paige fought on, they had YouTube guys and
A TikToker.
TikTokers, and they had Blueface, which is a
rapper.
rapper. So they're bringing eyes from everywhere. You know, they're being real smart with their business moves. So it's growing.
And I saw somewhere that a pension fund is being set up too for fighters.
I heard David Feldman say that also. That's great. That's the first in when it comes to combat sports.
Have you heard anything? Is it just, have you had to like fill out any paperwork for that yet? Or
I haven't yet. I think they're in the process of that. I haven't. You know, I heard about him. I heard him. He went out on the BKFC podcast and he talked about that. You know, hopefully in the near future that starts happening. But I haven't seen anything go into action as of yet.
So you guys said you were at the Paige VanZant Rachael Ostovich fight.
Yeah.
What did you make of it?
Two beautiful women, right? So if you just put them on the street and nobody knows, right? They're two beautiful women. And then going in there and watching them just battle it out like for war, it was amazing. It was really amazing. I've never really seen Rachael fight before, and I was blown away. Like, she doesn't put all of her training videos out there. You don't see what she's doing. She keeps everything really private, so I didn't know what she was going to bring to the table. Personally, I love Paige. She signed with the same management company, First Round Management. So mad props to her. I've seen her work her tail off, but Rachael just had that edge. She wanted it. She had the dog in her. She went out and really put it out there and made a name for herself.
Absolutely. And you know, Paige has had 2 bare knuckle fights. She's gone 10 rounds in 2 fights. Bare knuckle. That girl's a warrior. You know, all those women are warriors. Her and Rachael, amazing fight, 5 rounds. They were banging each other up, man, and they stood their ground, you know. And props to Rachael, she won the fight. But Paige is, you know, it's amazing for the sport, and especially for women what they're doing.
I feel like they're going to need a grudge match because now they're 1-1.
Yeah,
sure.
For
sure. MMA, bare knuckle, what is it going to be? Is it going to be boxing? Is it going to be WWE match?
Today I said I want Paige to come to WWE.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I would love to be in the ring with her too.
Her husband has a big fight coming up also. Shout out to
I saw
Austin. Yeah.
Against
Gegard Mousasi in the middleweight division in Bellator.
Yeah.
You know, we were at a Bellator fight the other week when AJ McKee, undefeated in
yeah.
18-0.
We watched that.
Yeah. I shout out to AJ, man. He's amazing fighter, but amazing what he did to Pitbull. I saw AJ actually a couple weeks earlier at a bare knuckle fight, not BKFC, at a BYB. He was backstage with one of his fighters and his dad, Antonio McKee. But those guys are killing it, man. Those guys are killing it.
Yeah, I saw them in Miami during the Logan Paul and Mayweather fight too. I think AJ came down for that. That's where I remember seeing him.
They'll be at the Jake Paul fight.
The Jake Paul fight too.
Yeah,
I want to pick your brain on that too, because I think on your podcast, the Don't Blink podcast, when you were gracious enough to have Helen and I on, or the Schmo and Helen on the podcast, I think I floated between this and that. We talked about it because you have experience with Jake Paul and his boxing career.
Yes, I do.
But you even said it too. I know you're represented by First Round Management. They represent Woodley too.
Right.
So let's put all the management aside. Let's put combat sports on the line. Tyron Woodley's one of the greatest welterweights in MMA history. Like, if you think about who's held the title in UFC history, like, there's only a couple of guys I would maybe put ahead of Tyron Woodley. Obviously, GSP. Yeah. You can argue, obviously, Usman.
Okay. Welterweight?
Welterweight, but, you know, Woodley's up there. He's top 3. You have to put him in there.
Absolutely. I think he's, you know, he's a legend, and it's going to be a tough fight, man.
It's going to be a tough fight, but there is a rematch clause in here because if Woodley wins, Jake can exercise it. I don't think it's a two-way street, whereas if Jake wins, Woodley could get the rematch right away. But, you know, there's a tattoo on the line here. Right. I love so-and-so for the winner.
Yeah. You think they're going to really, honor that?
Jake, 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's Sunday night, right? So this is on a Sunday night, August 29th. This is in the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, the hometown, Cleveland, Ohio. Midwest represent. I mean, Tyron's been there before. I mean, I think Jake's favored. Tell me who wins this fight and why.
It's hard to call the fight. I can't see the winner, but I mean, just for obvious reasons, I would see Woodley winning this fight. You know, he's, like you said, he's been there. You know, Jake's been training his ass off. Shout out to Jake and BJ Flores as his trainer. They're amazing. You know, they have a great thing going on. But Woodley just has again, the experience. Last time we talked was in Askren, and we said Askren had the experience, but Askren didn't come in to fight. You know what I mean? It didn't look like it. Woodley looks like he's actually, you know, he's not coming to get a check. He's coming to prove a point. And there's been a lot of shit talked. So there's some points to prove there, man. It's a tough one.
It is, because it's like, which Woodley shows up? Is it the Woodley before the Kamaru Usman title fight, where Woodley, you can argue, has not won a round in MMA since, you know, he got in the octagon against Usman. It's been a couple years. But the dog, the hungry Tyron Woodley, the one that defended that bout so many different times to beat the killers, to beat the Robbie Lawlers and such. Like, if that dog comes out and that's T. Wood, like, Jake is in for it. He's going to be tested. But like, if Jake comes in there and does the sweet science and dances, and Tyron's not patient and is you know, going into habits he would as a wrestler in his background, like, it could be a long night for him. It really, to me, it comes down to which Tyron Woodley shows up in that ring Sunday night.
I agree 100%. You know, and Tyron said himself, you know, after once he won the belt, he wasn't taking training as serious and everything. I think for this fight, he's the other Tyron Woodley, where he's taking things serious and he's gonna come in and he's gonna try to make a statement.
Well, I just like how he doesn't shy away from saying, okay, yeah, I have the MMA community on my back. Because Ben Askren didn't say that.
Right.
He wouldn't say that. Tyron is saying that.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
But usually, Jake, I think Jake's hardest fight, right? So knowing that, I think Jake's going to come in with that hunger and that ambition to show people that he is what he says he is, right? And with that being said, may the best man win, because they have to come in with their head on 100%.
How I think about like the Jake and Woodley. Like Woodley, yeah, he's been there in these deep waters, serious fights. Jake has never been in that, but he's used to the limelight. He's used to people booing or cheering, so I don't think that'll phase them in that sense, So it's a tough one to call, man. It's a tough one to call. If I had to make a choice, I would go with Woodley, and it has nothing to do with management or nothing like that. I just think he has more experience when it comes to the fight game with guys like Robbie Lawler and a lot of stand-up. So, may the best man win. Hopefully,
and it's in Jake's hometown, though.
That's
true
too. That's true too.
But from your perspective too, like let's talk about all these sports here. Let's talk about bare knuckle. Obviously, you tape up your wrists and stuff. Right. Knuckles are bare. Right. MMA gloves. You're talking about 4-ounce gloves. Right. And then boxing, like what? Are they going to box with 10-ounce gloves for this? 8-ounce gloves?
I think they're 10-ounce gloves.
10-ounce gloves, right? So talk our audience through just the difference in the trajectory of punches, landing things, throwing things, and how that differentiates between your sport and then boxing, and maybe how that plays in the favor of a Jake or a Tyron who's used to different size gloves.
It definitely makes a difference, especially with the gloves. It helps out a lot more. With bare knuckle, after a couple of punches, you're gonna feel your hands getting swollen. You know what I mean? So it's a big difference in that. It's a big difference in your how far you got to reach for the punch and everything. So with 10-ounce gloves, I think Woodley will have the advantage there just because he's fought with lighter gloves. He's been hit harder, with basically MMA gloves. There's like no gloves, basically, So I think he has the advantage there. But when it comes to the boxing, I've been in the ring with Jake. He has good footwork. He's been moving around. He's been working his ass off. So you can't take none from him. He's obviously more used to boxing with the gloves on, but again, I don't know, man. When it comes to this, I get tongue twisted and start stuttering because it's a hard one to call.
But where's his skill level though in the boxing ring? Because you've been in there with other professional boxers too. Like where does his skill level stack up? At least at this point, from when you last saw him.
I think it stacks up. Okay, I think it stacks up very well. He moves great. He's a young guy. He's very athletic. He has great stamina in the ring. He snaps his punches. He moves around a lot. He's very, he's not in the pocket. He's not trying to take any punches. So that's where it gets dicey. That's where I see Woodley's gonna have to be chasing him around. And I'm a pocket fighter. I'm a Mexican style fighter. I'm in your face. So when I sparred with Jake, I was in his face. He'd pop a couple punches and be out of there. So if he does that type of fighting, it's going to be a tough one for Woodley. That's what I see.
Well, regardless of the result or who wins, how do you see Jake's boxing career progressing? And because I think even the other day he released like this hit list, and two of the names
put
were
Canelo
like
on there.
Usman and Canelo.
That's impossible. Canelo will destroy him for sure. Yeah, I saw his hit list. He wants to fight Tyson Fury's brother also. I saw that too.
Yeah,
Tommy Fury.
Who's on the undercard.
Yeah, right. He's on the undercard. One thing that Jake is doing, side note, is that he's making sure that the fighters get paid well, which is a great thing. It's a great thing for fighters. And again, I think he's bringing a lot of eyes that weren't on the fighting game to the fighting game, which is a good thing for everybody that's involved.
Yeah, regardless if people don't like his intentions or question his intentions, he's still bringing to the attention of those that matter fighter pay,
right,
which is always a controversial topic, especially when you talk about it amongst UFC fighters,
Absolutely.
The UFC brass. So he does a really good job of stirring the pot and creating the conversation. And I saw he did that charity in Puerto Rico, the Bullies, he had a charity against.
Yeah, I heard about that.
batting.
He was talking about how he was a bully when he was a kid or something like that.
Right, which is interesting. So here he is admitting that he used to bully kids and then flipping the script and saying, look, I don't want you guys to be like me, and I'm going to create a foundation against bullies. And I guess it started in Puerto Rico, where he's kind of made his home over there and started training, which I think is very unique too. Yeah. Good for him.
Absolutely, I agree. But then he gets to the press conference, he starts trying to bully everybody in the press conferences.
We walked out of the last one. I go, I can't stand that guy.
We actually talked about that last time. We said that Askren got the best of the press.
We were there. You guys were in the audience for the Ben Askren press conference, which was great too. Yeah. It's kind of a funny story too, because Ben was in here. We interviewed him too, and I don't know who's hearing this or not.
He's a ski machine.
He's a ski machine, but I said, he's like, Ben asked, what should I say? Anything to get. I'm like, talk about his older brother. Call him Logan's younger brother. I'm a younger brother. I know how that would be.
You hate that, right?
And I know he does. But, the more successful they get, to their credit, too,
it doesn't matter.
Their own lanes are huge as is. These guys are doing it.
Absolutely.
Doing it well. Right. But so that's going on. And obviously the big UFC fight. And I know, obviously, your last opponent in BKFC comes from the UFC side of things and MMA fighters. I guess, do you see an advantage for people coming into BKFC from the boxing world or from the MMA world, and why?
I would say both of them have an advantage. If you're like I said, my style's Mexican style fighter. You don't want to use that too much in BKFC. You don't want to be standing there taking hits. You want to be kind of an in and out guy. If you're that type of fighter, which I call it Cuban style fighting, where you're in and out, it's to your advantage. When it comes to like Thiago versus me versus Thiago, I feel like he had the advantage because he's just been in deep waters a lot more than I have. He fought the elite of the elite. I'm a guy who 5 years ago I came off the street, man. I came off the street. I changed my life around. Fighting saved my life, because I got into fighting and I got to where I am now in less than 5 years, and I got to. I got the honor of fighting him in a ring for a world championship. It was an amazing. I lost a fight, but I feel like I won in life. It was amazing. Thank you for your great comments too, man. I appreciate you. It depends who's in there. If you're a boxer but you haven't been in deep waters, it's gonna be tough for you because you get hit with a bare knuckle. And you see a lot of these fights. There's tough guys. Everybody, if you step in there, you're tough, but you get grazed by one of those knuckles, it's not the same as a glove or even an MMA glove. You're like, it makes you think 2 or 3 times about it, So it depends who you're in there with.
I always ask that question too. I'm like, do you think any of these fighters go in there thinking, all right, I can do this, and they get hit one time and they're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this anymore. And we see that sometimes too in the fights where it looks like they just quit. Yeah. They get maybe grazed just a little bit and then they drop down and then they don't get back up.
Yeah, it's like a reality check. You get hit, you're like, whoa, it's not the same for sure.
How does one kind of prepare for bare knuckle then, if they are coming in from, like David said, whether it's MMA or boxing?
Well, the preparation is, everybody has their own different thing when it comes to working out. Obviously it's boxing with a little bit of dirty boxing. So MMA's, it takes a little advantage there where if somebody, they know how to grab you by the back of your neck and hold you down and try to, dirty box you. But I think the big difference is I again, and this is not to brag or anything, but I've fought on the street a million times. I've been hit with bare knuckle, a bunch of times, and it just, to me, it just depends on a person what you have inside. I went out on my shield. I never thought about quitting, not once, and I think it takes a little different determination once you get hit with bare knuckle and you got the blood and you feel your face swelling up at the time. It's a whole different atmosphere, man. But it's everybody has a different animal inside of them, especially when you get hit. Do you turn on or do you turn off?
Especially too in that sport where cuts they open up all the time,
right,
and you see blood. But blood will paint that canvas after the first match too. So it's how you deal with that adversity. Right. Some people won't be able to see out of one of their eyes for.
Well, that happened to me.
You saw when
I came out in the third round. I missed a combination. Thiago took advantage, and I had one eye was like oil. I couldn't even see out of it, and that's no excuse. It was a great fight, but it definitely that is a huge factor. It gets tough, man.
No, it's funny because I haven't talked about this much, but my first experience with bare knuckle, Ken Shamrock called me and hired the Schmo to be part of Valor Bare Knuckle 1.
Oh, that's awesome.
There hasn't been a second one, but that was in North Dakota on Indian Reservation. They built a pit, and it was amazing being a part of that. That was my first broadcast in combat sports, and I remember one of the fighters, what he would do to condition his knuckles, whether it was in his basement or just the side of a boxing ring, he would punch the steel pole repetitively over and over and over again.
That's what
you do that too as well?
I have a thick piece of wood in my backyard, and we have it taped up against the wall, and I just hit it every day. It's like after practice, I do it. And I had a makiwara, which is a Japanese board with like leather on it, and I hit that about, it's like a minimum of 300 times. We count 300 punches before it's over.
That's insane.
Yeah, I started off where you start bleeding out of your knuckles and you callus up and you don't even bleed anymore. It just gets tougher and tougher.
Oh my gosh.
That's like what it reminds me of what Tony Ferguson El Kukui does for his shins.
Right.
Hey, you were thinking about doing that. he wants to what?
I want to strengthen my shin, so I was like doing a bunch of research and different
they say
things.
Put like roll bamboo on it and stuff.
That's what Stephen Thompson was doing.
Yeah. Wonder Boy?
Yeah.
Oh, he's awesome, man. He's awesome.
I saw him doing that. That gave me inspiration. No, I'm just different things. So it all worked out that way. But man, so if you weren't doing bare knuckle, so off the street, Jorge Masvidal, he started his own bare knuckle MMA organization. If that was available at the time, do you think you would do that more, or is kind of the boxing more of your type of scene?
Well, right now, at my age and where I'm at in life, boxing is more of my thing because I got metal in one knee from surgeries. I've had back surgery. I actually tore a bicep in a fight. I have another torn bicep from a motorcycle accident. So I'm fighting on pure, excuse my French, but balls, man. So boxing and bare knuckle boxing is a better way, outlet for me, just because of all the past injuries I've had. But it's amazing what Gamebred is doing with Gamebred FC. That's a whole different level of bare knuckle boxing. Now I could knee you, kick you, punch you, and we're on the ground, and they're grappling, and you could punch guys bare knuckle. It's a whole different animal.
It is. It's bringing the street fight to like sanctioned fighting.
Exactly.
Jorge, he used to be on Kimbo Slices.
Yes. He used to fight in backyards in Miami. He came, which is amazing, man. Miami has a huge history when it comes to that. And in the early 2000s, started getting filmed and put on YouTube, and look at these guys now. UFC vets fighting for titles, and it's a great trajectory from where they've come from.
Absolutely.
And for you though, is there like a time frame you'd like to return or an opponent?
Well, from what I'm hearing, I heard November. I haven't heard about an opponent, no contracts or nothing yet. I know they love for me to fight in South Florida. I bring everybody out in South Florida. Thank you to everybody out there in South Florida. They come and support me. So he likes to save me for these South Florida fights. I'm hoping that bare knuckle gets legalized here in Vegas. I would love to fight in Vegas, but that's hard with UFC. But no, I haven't heard nothing as of yet. I just know I feel like with my 3-second knockout and this epic battle I just had with a great fighter, I need to get paid right too.
Yeah, and weren't you also during the Super Bowl? Weren't you the MVP on the flag football?
I was.
We saw it on TV.
We watched it from a hotel room on TV.
I was a celebrity sweat MVP, which was amazing, man. I got to play with a bunch of WWE stars. Pettis was on my team.
Was Devin Hester on the field
Devin Hester was on the team. I love Devin Hester.
Future Hall of Famer.
Yes,
I'm a diehard Bears fan.
And he was a Miami Hurricane.
That's right.
I love the guy.
Amazing.
He really played like it was the actual Super Bowl, though.
No, not.
He couldn't move for a week after.
Oh, and we're playing in sand. So
Yes.
all types of things were hurting.
Everyone was like, all right, I think I'm done a little bit. Uly's in the end zone, like, I'm open. Throw me the ball. It was awesome, man. When
the game was over, we're all standing and taking a picture, and they come with the trophy. They're like, hey, so who deserves a trophy? And everybody's like, this guy does, man. It was amazing.
Not Deontay Hall, not Deion Sanders. Yeah. Devin Hester, best return man in NFL history.
Absolutely. I love Devin Hester, man.
That's
big
right.
Miami guy.
Miami, yeah. So you have that athletic build, man.
Well,
even at your age.
Yeah. I've always been an athlete. I always loved football. I grew up, you know what I mean, with a single mom. She was working her ass off to try to take care of me. So I never had anybody watching over me. I never got to play organized football. I played baseball and then I played basketball as a kid, and I got to my high school team and everything. I wish I would have played organized football. That was always my favorite game. Never got a chance to, so I got to show it off at the Celebrity Sweat game.
There you go.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. I was a little cheerleader on the sideline.
It was awesome.
So have you tried some pro wrestling moves?
Yeah.
I have with her, and I was actually on WWE. It's called Raw Underground, which it was like they had this thing where it was like wrestling, but it was like kind of like a street fight. It had no ring. It was like a backstage fight. I actually went against Dolph Ziggler, the legend in WWE. It was awesome. Yeah, he beat my ass. But I went with her one time to a practice for wrestling. It was in a wrestling ring. So she shows me how to run the ropes. I run the ropes. First time I do it wrong, I hit the ropes. These ropes are tighter than any ropes I've ever touched in my life. Immediately get hurt. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Then they teach me how to take how to do bumps where you land on your back. Did about 5 of those. Had a migraine, so I was like, all right,
I'm done.
I was like, I'd rather get punched in the face. I'll sit back and watch you. And yeah. Wrestling is a tough thing. And like when everybody, like when we talk about her, you know, and we talk about WWE, and everybody's like, oh, that's like, you know, that's fake. I'm like, it's not fake. They're really wrestling and they're really going through all these things. They're just playing a role with dialogue, you know, but they're hurting each other. It's tough. She's had some bad injuries herself.
100%. And if you have a partner that just messes up by centimeters,
Right.
too, you have to roll with it too. Like there's so many nights you probably get punched in the face.
That's
or
the
slammed
thing
on
with
your
like
head.
concussions too. Our medical team is by far amazing. They take everything super like serious, right? So if you have a headache, they check you out. If you just bump your head the wrong way, they're right there to make sure you're okay, because I'm putting my body in someone else's hands, and I want them to protect me as I will protect them too. But we really are going at it. Like, our adrenaline's going so much. So the hits are real. The holds are legit holds. And like, your adrenaline's going so much, you just don't feel it. I guess like it's like when you're in a fight, because I'm like, oh my God, didn't that hurt? And he's like, I didn't really feel it. But an hour or two goes by, your adrenaline wears off. You're like, oh my God, this hurts. But no, it's crazy too, because when I took him training and stuff like that, he helps me a lot in regards to just, I see something and I want to try it. Like the other day we were at home and his boys were with us, and I was like, why don't we just try this little move? And we all like sat in the living room, and I was like, throw a line, let me catch it, and let me DDT you.
By my boy, she means my kids. I got an 8 and a 9-year-old, so they were playing wrestling moves on her.
Yeah, so it's really cool just to have him understand the whole wrestling concept and know the hard work that is put into it. And he's come up with a couple cool like little moves and transitions for me too. So we work great together as a team.
I still can never get over the fact Mick Foley used to take that dirty sock and stick it up people's mouths and everything like that.
No,
the sanitation and COVID era.
Yeah, right?
No, it's wild. I don't know. She's told me it's happened to her actually too, where you're live. They're live on pay-per-view with millions of people watching, and you get hurt. Like, I'm talking about seriously hurt. Like, you got to go to the hospital after here, and you got to keep playing it off, right?
Yeah.
So that takes a different animal. You know, that takes a different kind of breed to keep doing that. Because as soon as I feel something like happen to her, I'll be like, all right, cut.
But you do it for the love of the sport and love of the art, and
exactly.
Absolutely.
I've had a lot of injuries, I should say, but it just makes you stronger and want to come back even faster. One time, like, we have the same scars. I was hit into the ring post and I was leaking. I mean, like leaking, but I was okay. And the ref's like, are you sure you're okay? I'm like, yeah. But they had to call it off because they didn't know if I was really with it or not. And I get back and I was super pissed. I'm like, why'd you do that? I was fine. But I was glad in the end because they were like, your health is first and foremost. And yeah, I was, a bit concussed, but I'm super glad that, they're looking out for the best in me. And I've had a lot of other injuries too, but the medical team is by far the best team that I've ever had, and they take things very seriously. But training is, I always say this, training, you have to know what you're doing. You have to stay on the ball of things, on top of it, because, like, you know, as we said, Goldberg's coming out of retirement, but he has been training nonstop for this moment, for this opportunity. People think, oh, he just jumped out of bed and said, I want to come back, and here he is. No, he's been training. Like the same thing with Undertaker. He's been backstage many times. He looks like $1 million, you know. They live this lifestyle, and I've lived this lifestyle too. And I tell Uly all the time too. I'm like, I want to go find a ring. I want to go to the South Florida ring. I've had the honor of and pleasure of an opportunity with Natty Natty. They have a ring in Tampa. So I would drive down to Tampa and I would spend some time training over there too. That's just a great feeling that all the girls work together and we all have a great relationship and we all like to train together and just stay in tip-top shape.
Now, what does a day of training look like? Like how many hours and how does that work?
In ring training, we like to start off with a lot of like stretching and rolls. We do a lot of rolls like judo rolls and stuff like that because your equilibrium is like, I used to roll all the time in gymnastics. I used to flip and all that. We ride roller coasters or we go on like a virtual.
I get vertigo.
Like a virtual reality ride. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't feel too good, you know. But the rolls really kind of get us going, get us loose and make sure we, you know, have our bearings. We run the rope. We do a ton of conditioning. The drop downs where you hop over someone, body slam someone, you know, drop down. We do a ton of conditioning. I always say this, that there's no such thing as in-ring shape. Like you can run on a treadmill, you can do the Stairmaster, you can run on miles down the road, but once you're in that ring and actually performing, you get gassed like no other. Like it's a whole nother level of endurance. So we practice conditioning, and then we just get into chain wrestling. We roll around, actually grapple and do the holds and really, you know, just move around with each other and feel comfortable. And then we actually go into matches and beat each other up and shake hands at the end.
The one trick that always has me intrigued, or always had me intrigued too, is the razor blade. I know the guys would have the razor blades in their sock or something. They pull it out, and then if you want to add to the theatrics and bleed, you scratch over
that. That was before my time. Yeah.
Oh, they don't do it anymore.
I could have sworn it was a couple years ago something fell out of John Cena's pocket. So this is, how long has that been out of the rule book for?
A long time.
A long time.
Yeah, a long time. That was before my time.
That was WWF time.
Okay, yeah. That's my childhood. So the age of your kids, that's when I was all in. We would go in my friends' basements and we'd put mats down, or actually not mats, we didn't have mats, but we'd take the cushions off of the sofas and we just emulate what we saw on TV and beat the crap out of each other.
Absolutely.
That's like his kids. Yeah. Before we started dating, he's like, I guess they were like, Dad, you don't know who that is?
Yeah, well, when we first started dating, you know, and she would come over, she met the kids, they would tell me, Dad, I played with her in a video game. So it was awesome.
Yeah, so how did that happen? Like, how did you?
We actually met through Yoel Romero.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
One of my favorites to interview.
Yoel the Matchmaker.
Yoel the Matchmaker. This is great.
That's awesome.
Proceed.
So I was friends with Yoel for many years, and I lived in Boca for a long time, and I just wanted to get out of Boca, so I left Boca, and then I lived in New York, and I came back to Boca, and his trainer for his MMA fight was Yoel at the time. So Yoel saw that I was in South Florida and was like, hey, my fighter has a fight tomorrow. We're at his weigh-ins in Fort Lauderdale. After weigh-ins, if you want to grab some food, we can grab some food and catch up. I hadn't seen Yoel in 3+ years. So I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. Long story short, we go to the restaurant. I guess he was dehydrated, needed a little IV or something like that. So I'm sitting there and I'm like waiting, like, okay, where's Yoel? I call Yoel and he's like, I'm down in South Miami at Dynamic Wellness, which is like an IV place to get hydrated with fluids. And Yoel doesn't speak good English, right? So I don't really understand what he's trying to tell me, and I don't speak Spanish. And this is the first time in years that like I had little butterflies because he put Uly on the phone, and I see Uly on FaceTime, and I'm like, oh my God, he's scary looking. Like, who is this guy? But at the same time, like, oh, he's sexy and like has this like something special. I felt it immediately. And then he's like, yeah, we're here. Da, 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 da. I'm like, all right, I'm on my way, right? I get there. Guess what? He's not there. He went home to rest.
It's the day before the fight. I'm getting focused.
I was going to say.
Yeah. He had no interest whatsoever. I was leaving out of town on Friday, which is his fight was on Friday. I was going, you know, on the road with WWE. My girlfriend wanted to go to his fight, so I messaged him on Instagram, and I was like, hey, best of luck at your fight. Is there any way I can get a ticket for my friend Natalie? She wants to go. He's like, contact this person. I'm like, doll, like no response. You're dead as a doornail. So I left it after his fights. Saturday I checked on him, like on his page, saw he had won. I didn't say anything. Sunday I was like, hey, congrats on your fight. It's like praying emoji. Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. And then I was like, I said something else, and it was like praise emoji. It was emoji after emoji after emoji. I was
That's
like,
how I would answer.
yeah, I'm like, all right. And then finally, I was like, all right, fine. I gave it like a day or two, and then we started communicating. And I don't check my DMs all that often, or I don't have my notifications on the phone. So I was like, all right, here's my number. If you want to text me, like, we'll go back and forth. But the thing is I was on the road for 2 weeks straight. Like, who texts and doesn't meet each other in like 2 weeks? I was like, oh, this is gonna fade off, right, and fizzle out. But we stayed in contact for 2 weeks, and it was around Christmas. It was like 2 days after Christmas.
Yeah.
And then we had met, and I never left his side since.
That's so cute.
Thanks, Yoel.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah,
You're giving me more interview content when I see him again in South Florida.
I love
That's
Yoel,
an
man. That's
awesome
he's a brother to me. I love that guy.
And the funny thing too is, like I think it was after New Year's, Yoel had messaged me and was like, "Hey, do you mind if I give Uly your phone number or something like that?" I was like, "Little does he know, we've already been talking."
He's always following up. Good on Yoel. That's a great story, I think, to end this podcast
Yeah.
on right there.
Thank you.
Is there any final thoughts you guys want to get out there? We really appreciate you guys coming off of an airplane, pretty much, coming here to Vegas from the East Coast in South Florida where you guys live, and coming over here.
I wouldn't miss this, brother. I'm gonna let you finish off first.
No,
and
I
I'll-
really appreciate you guys
Yeah.
having us and letting us tell our story. It's been amazing, and I love seeing you guys. You guys are a light in my eyes and inspire me to do and keep going and get my message out there. So I appreciate everything you guys do.
Absolutely, I appreciate the opportunity, man. Thank you so much. And we have a short film we just made. It's 12 minutes long. It premieres September 4th at the Urban Film Festival in Miami. It's called Never Too Late. It's a little bit of my story, but I want people to know that it has nothing to do with fighting. It's just letting people know I turned pro at the age of 35. I'm 40 now. In the 5 years that I've been pro, I got the fastest knockout in combat sports history. I just fought for a world title against a veteran in the game for 20 years, which was an honor. It was amazing to share the ring with him. And I just want to let people know that keep your head up. Just keep striving. If you stay consistent on something you love, you will be successful. And it's never too late to be what you want to be, man. Just got to, the hardest thing about it is just taking that first step in that direction. But anybody could do it. If I did it, anybody could do it.
I love that message.
Yeah, very powerful words. And I will say, someone who just turned 30, in swimming years, it's considered, quote, old. But, with you saying those words again, it reassures me that, my goal, it doesn't matter what age, just got to take that first step.
You're definitely very young. And, you're taking all the right steps. You are going to be a champion in 2024. Everybody look out for Helen Yee. And it's just you guys know very well because you've been consistent in what you're doing. That's why you're here. That's why you got your role in the UFC, and that's why you're doing a lot of great things in both of you guys' career. It's just there's gonna be a million haters. There's gonna be a million people telling you you're not gonna be able to do it. Even your family members and the closest people to you are gonna tell you that's impossible. And then they're going to be the ones that want pictures with you as soon as you make it happen. You know what I mean?
Use it for your motivation.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Use it as gas and just let it propel you forward. Stay consistent. Don't listen to anybody else. Listen to yourself. Follow your dream and make it happen.
Amen to that.
Yes.
And catch out more of you on the Don't Blink podcast.
Absolutely. Don't Blink podcast on YouTube, 7:30 p.m. on Tuesdays. Thank you for that.
Of course, man. I appreciate the hoodie
Yes,
that
sir.
you gave us when we were on your
Yes, sir.
podcast.
Yes, sir.
And Dana, you have a meet and greet, right?
Yes, on Saturday. Saturday the 21st, the morning before SummerSlam. But if you see me around Vegas, I never say no to a picture.
Why not?
Don't be surprised if you guys see me flying off the top rope. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I was, babe, tag me.
Episode 74 of the Schmozone podcast. We are out.